My mom looked across the dinner table and said, "You'll never be as good as your sister." The room froze. My dad nodded. My sister smirked, but I stood up and said something that silenced everyone. I'm Maya, 28 years old, and for as long as I can remember, I've been the invisible daughter, the backup child, the one who worked 2 jobs just to survive while my parents poured all their praise, money, and opportunities into my sister, Emma. Nights, I worked as a nurse in the ICU, saving lives. Weekends, I tutored kids to chip away at student loans that only seemed to grow. I never asked for help, never complained, just watched from the sidelines as Emma was handed everything I could only dream of. If you've ever been overlooked while your family lifted someone else up, subscribe right now and tell me where you're watching from. I read every single comment because I know exactly how that pain feels. It all started 3 months ago, at what should have been just another family dinner. But this one was different. This one was Emma's celebration. She'd landed a job at a trendy marketing startup, and my parents turned it into a full-blown event. The dining room smelled of roasted chicken and expensive wine. Mom had cooked Emma's favorite meal. The table was set with flowers, fine china, and candles, as if it were a holiday. I walked in straight from a 12-hour hospital shift, still in scrubs, exhaustion weighing on me. "Maya, you're late," Mom said, eyes glued to Emma, who was gushing about her new office perks. I slid into the only empty chair, the one with the wobbly leg nobody wanted. Emma glowed, her hair perfect, her dress probably worth more than my week's pay. Dad hung on her every word like she'd discovered the cure for cancer. "My boss says I could be creative director within 6 months," Emma bragged, swirling her wine. "That's incredible, sweetheart," Dad beamed. "This company knows real talent." I tried to join in. Speaking of work, I got commended today for saving a patient in cardiac arrest. The doctor said my quick actions made the difference. Mom barely looked at me. "That's nice, honey." Then back to Emma. "Tell us more about the office culture. It sounds amazing." Dad nodded. "Emma's going places, not like those dead-end healthcare jobs." And then it came, the moment that shattered me. Mom looked right at me, her voice sharp. "Maya, you'll never be as good as your sister. Emma has ambition, drive. She's going somewhere." The words hit harder than I expected. Emma didn't defend me, she just smiled and sipped her wine, perfectly comfortable with my humiliation. That night, something clicked. I'd been paying my parents' $2,800 mortgage for 6 months, while they handed Emma $5,000 as a congratulations for a job that didn't even pay what I made in a month. But that dinner was only the beginning. The real betrayal came 2 weeks later. On my lunch break, I opened Instagram and froze. There they were, my parents, Emma, and her boyfriend, smiling on a beach in Hawaii, palm trees, cocktails, ocean sunsets, my family, without me. Nobody had mentioned a family trip, nobody even asked. I called Mom immediately. "Oh, Maya," she said, almost annoyed, "we didn't think you could get time off. You're always so busy with work." "You didn't ask," I whispered. "It was last minute. Emma needed to decompress after her new job. You understand." I hung up. My chest ached as I scrolled through more photos, my family laughing, dining, building sandcastles, all while I was thousands of miles away, alone. Hours later, Emma texted, "Sorry, thought you knew about Hawaii. You're always working anyway, so we figured you wouldn't want to come. Hope you're not mad." I wasn't mad, I was devastated. But the public humiliation came next, and that almost broke me. Emma's 26th birthday was held at the most expensive restaurant in town. My parents had rented out the back room, invited 50 guests, and showered Emma with praise. I showed up after a 12-hour shift, still smelling faintly of disinfectant, wearing the nicest dress I owned, which still looked cheap next to the designer outfits around me. Mom stood to give her speech. "We're so proud of our Emma," she said, glass raised high. "She's always had such natural talent, such a bright future. Some people are just born to succeed." The room applauded. Emma glowed like a star. Then Mrs. Chun, one of Mom's friends, turned to me. "And what do you do, Maya?" "I know Emma's in marketing, but I've lost track of your career." Before I could answer, Dad cut in with a laugh that burned my cheeks. "Oh, Maya's still figuring things out. She's at the hospital, but Emma's the one with the real career. She's really going places. I just completed my nursing degree. I was working in the ICU, holding people's lives in my hands every single day, making more than Emma ever had, but none of that mattered. Mom lifted her glass again. We're just so proud of our successful daughter. She looked right at Emma while I sat 3 feet away. The room went quiet. I felt 50 pairs of eyes on me. Some pitied me, others looked uncomfortable. My parents? They just smiled and kept celebrating Emma, like I wasn't there at all. That night, I went home and cried until my eyes were swollen shut. But the real betrayal came later. While helping Mom organize bills, I found them Emma's student loan statements, all marked paid in full, $45,000, wiped clean, and every single payment came from my parents' account, the same one I'd been depositing money into each month for their mortgage. I confronted Mom. "You've been using my money to pay Emma's loans." She didn't even flinch. "Emma needs to focus on her career. She can't be weighed down by debt. You have a stable job. You can manage and help the family. I've been drowning in my own loans while you used my payments for Emma. Don't be selfish, Maya. Emma's success benefits all of us." That's when the truth hit me. I hadn't been paying off a mortgage, I'd been bankrolling Emma's entire lifestyle. Her loans, her car, even her credit cards. Over 2 years, I'd given them $47,000 while working myself to exhaustion. What they didn't know was that I had proof. Every transfer, every receipt, every bank record documented and ready. While they bragged about Emma's $45,000 salary, they didn't know I was earning $89,000 a year. They didn't know I'd been accepted into a nurse practitioner program that would push me into 6 figures. I wasn't their struggling daughter, I was their golden goose. When Mom hinted I'd be covering Emma's wedding catering because Emma has to save for her dress and honeymoon, I finally snapped. I stopped making the mortgage payments. Within a week, the panic set in. Calls from Mom, angry texts from Dad, even Emma rang, suddenly concerned about family finances. "Maya, what's going on with the mortgage?" Mom demanded. "The bank called, the payments late. I think we need a family meeting," I said calmly. Saturday night, they staged another dinner. Mom cooked big, Dad poured wine, Emma flashed her engagement ring. They thought I'd cave. Dad started lecturing. "Maya, you can't just stop supporting us because you're upset. This family depends on you. Emma's building her future." Mom added, "We all need to sacrifice." Emma nodded along, still clueless. Then Mom gave me that same cold sneer, the one I'd known my whole life. And she repeated the exact words that had started it all. "You'll never be as good as your sister." I stood up slowly, my hands steady for the first time in months. I looked my mother straight in the eye and said the words that froze the room. "Then ask her to pay your bills." The only sound was the ticking of the grandfather clock. From my bag, I pulled out a folder stuffed with documents. I spread them across the table like playing cards, each page landing with a soft thud that seemed to echo in the silence. "I've paid $47,000 to this family in the last 2 years," I said, my voice calm, almost clinical. "Emma's student loans, your mortgage, her car payments, even her credit card debt when she overspent." Emma's face drained of color. She picked up a statement with trembling hands, staring at her name written again and again in the memo lines. Mortgage, $2,800 a month. Loans, $650. Car, $400. Emergencies, $8,200. I pointed to each figure. Dad flipped through the papers, his confidence collapsing as he realized the truth every payment documented, every lie exposed. I turned to Emma. "You didn't know I was paying your loans, did you?" She shook her head, eyes filling with tears. "Maya, I thought Mom and Dad were helping me. I didn't know." "Of course you didn't. They wanted you to believe you were special, that you were better than me." Both my parents tried to speak at once, stumbling over excuses. "You want to know the real difference between Emma and me?" I asked, my voice rising. "I've been funding this entire family while you paraded her around as the successful daughter." The silence was suffocating. "My income? $89,000 a year as a nurse. Emma's? $45,000. Yet you told the world she was the one going places while she was living off my paychecks." Emma broke down, sobbing into her hands. Her success had been built on my sacrifice. Dad tried again. "Maya, we can expel." "No," I raised a hand to silence him. "You can't explain away 2 years of lies. You can't explain why you took my money to fund her future while telling me I'd never measure up. I slid the papers back into the folder. The mortgage payments stop today. If Emma's as good as you say, let her prove it with her own money. And I walked out. Within weeks, I moved to another city. I accepted a nurse practitioner position at $120,000 a year, finally treated with the respect I'd earned. 6 months later, their house went into foreclosure. Emma's relationship collapsed when the money dried up. She called me crying, begging for help, but I was done being their safety net. For the first time, their silence didn't hurt, it set me free. I realized I never needed their approval, I needed my own. Now, I'm surrounded by people who see my worth without evidence or sacrifice. People who know real success isn't about handouts, it's about what you build yourself. My family lost me that night, and I never looked back. Sometimes the greatest act of love is walking away from those who can't see your value. If you've ever carried the weight while someone else got the glory, you're not alone. Tell me your story in the comments. Where are you watching from? Have you had to choose between family loyalty and your own self-worth? Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop funding other people's dreams and start investing in your own.